In this video, we're going to go through and show you how the release build process works. We're going to create the Keystore, then we're going to go through and export a project and create the release APK file. So make sure you do watch the earlier Keystore video for some important information. Bit of a hint, don't lose the Keystore file once you've got it. So we're going to go through this process now of creating a Keystore and a private key and exporting it so you can see how that process will work. So let's get into it. Okay, so here I am in my app, and we'll just assume that we're ready to deploy it to the App Store. So what do we need to do? Well, first things first, we can click on the project and right-click it. We can click on Export. Select Android and export Android application. Click on Next. Select the project. So obviously we're in the project there. Click on Next. Now this option here, the very first time you do this, you'll be creating an existing store, but from then on, you should never create one. You should always be using the existing one. But we haven't got one at the moment, so we're going to create one from scratch. Create, location. Now you need to put this Keystore in a folder somewhere where you're not going to lose it. So I'm going to select my developer folder, like so. I'm just going to open that up, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it, just so there's no chance of me losing it, Keystore. Created a subfolder. Now it's going to save it as the name you should use should probably be your company name or your personal name if you're publishing in your own name. So I'm just going to call this one kimberjaka.keystore. Okay, then it needs a password, and you want to obviously select a password you're going to remember, but don't make it too simple if you're concerned about security. Because there was a situation going back about 3 or 4 months ago, probably 6 months ago now, and I had lost the password to the Keystore. So I had the Keystore, I just forgotten the password, but I was able to find a tool online, and by using sort of a brute force approach where I just tried it, a heap of passwords, I was able to get that, find that password, or effectively it gave me the password again very quickly. So if you are concerned, try using a longer password, or maybe using some special characters and so forth, just to make it a lot harder for these types of tools to work if you're concerned about that. Okay, click on Next. Now we've come up to the stage of an alias name. So the first stage was the Keystore. This is now really the private certificate information, the key creation effectively. Because remember, the keys are stored in the Keystore. So the alias, now you have got an option with private keys. You could create one private key per app if you wanted to. I don't suggest you do that. I think personally, it's probably easier just to create, well, there's a few reasons either way, but I tend to just have one alias and one private key, which I use for all my apps. But it's personal choice. You can do it either way, but that's why we're going to do it in these videos anyway. So I'm going to call it alias. I'm just going to put standard just to tell me that's a standard thing, but it can be anything to remind you of what the alias was. So you might want to use the name of a particular game or an app if you're using an alias, if you're doing a key, creating a key for every one. Password, again, that would depend on whether you're doing a separate one for each or not. In this case, I'm just going to use exactly the same password. Validity, the Android documentation suggests around about 25 years, because what will happen is after this certificate has expired, you won't be able to update it or update the app or do anything like that anymore. But realistically, probably 25-year lifespan for an app, probably not going to happen. It might, but I suggest anyway minimum of 25. That's what I'm going to do here. And then you just put your own personal details down here. So I'm just going to fill in some basic ones. You can leave some of these blank if you like, if you're not sure. My company. Okay, so just your own information essentially. Now, destination APK file, where this is the release APK file that will ultimately be uploaded to Google Play or any Android app store. Again, I suggest you put it in a directory where you're not going to sort of forget where it is. So I suggest you create something like perhaps an APK folder, because you might decide to keep the older versions as well. So I'm just going to leave that as the default name, top 10 downloader. Again, it reminds you how long before the certificate expires. And because this is obviously only a simplistic app, it's quite quick to finish. So we've now created that file. If we go back and have a look in Finder, It's literally only 381k because it's such a simplistic little app which only does sort of very few things. Obviously, it'll grow as you got more assets, more graphics and so forth, and more functionality. It'll get bigger. So that's creating it for the first time. But if you subsequently want to do it again, let's just say down the track you want to create a new version. When you go to export, select export from the Android menu again. Project names as same as before. This time we want to use existing. So again, you can see it's defaulted to that directory, but you could click browse and go to another one if you want. But that's the folder we want. Obviously, you need to remember the password. So if we type the wrong password, and the confirm there's not used when we're entering the password from an existing one, that's only used for a new one. But we click on next. Keystore was tampered with or password was incorrect. So we'll put the right password in this time. Next. This time we've got the standard. Use existing key, so we can create a new key. This is where you could create a second key, like a second private key if you wanted to do one per app. In this case, we're going to use just the standard one because that's the only option we've got. I'm going to put in the password. Again, the password would be not the password to the Keystore this time. It's the password to the previous private key that you've created. Go next. And again, it gives you some information then about the certificate and the certificate fingerprints. These are the codes that are actually, some of these are uploaded to Google Play, and they're used to sort of confirm that what you're uploading is, as far as Google's concerned, they're one and the same. But we'll get into those in the separate videos when we're actually uploading apps anyway to see how that works. But you can see that this screen basically just says it's when it expires in 2039, 25 years time. And again, it just confirms applications cannot be upgraded if their certificate changes from one version to another, forcing a full uninstall, which will make the user lose his or her data. So at the moment, we've got a Keystore here that's going to survive till 2039, I should say. And again, it's just telling us that, are you sure we want to overwrite the existing file, the APK file? We can do that. It's only a test. And there you go. So that's really the process I wanted to go through and show you. It's not particularly hard, but it just sort of gives you a bit of a good overview, I feel. So check out the other section where I go into more details and showing you how to upload, and you'll see the other side of the coin. You'll see the codes that we've got to put in from Google Play and how Google Play will enforce and confirm that you're using the right Keystore so that you don't get yourself into difficulty.